Video number 43 in the Jazz Violin series. Okay, now that we've done a whole bunch of lessons about single notes, which the violin really excels at. The violin is a great melodic instrument, so expressive. As well, some people say it's the king of instruments for that. I'm going to talk more about chords. Now you go, well, why would a violinist need to know about chords? What's the deal? We can't play chords. At best, we sound like a broken ukulele when we play it. All right? So violinists just aren't very good at it. But in order to be a good improviser, you need to know the notes that are in the chords to play notes in your solos and your melodies that will support and go with the chords as they change through a song. Not all songs have the same chord over and over. So, what else do you need to know about that? The idea is that a chord is basically every other note of a scale. Every other note of the scale. So the first note, the third note, and the fifth note make up a simple triad, as it's called. There can be more than 3 notes, but a 3-note chord going every other note of a scale is called a triad. And there's could be possibly 7 different triads within a key. So we'll talk more about that in another video. But basically think about this. If you have a chord, it has a corresponding scale, and you can improvise using that scale when that chord is being played by the chordal instruments. It could be a guitar or a keyboard or whatever. And all the instruments are supporting that chord. And you as the soloist would float over the top. You can use notes from that chord. They'll fit perfectly. And you can use notes between those notes as passing little slight tension release notes. The greatest melodies use notes from the chord, but they also use notes that aren't in the chord to create little tensions and releases as it goes. It creates beauty. So think of the triad as the skeleton of the scale. That's an important concept. Think of it as the skeleton of the scale that you can use to improvise over it. So it's the main ribs of the scale is the triad. If it's a C scale, C, E, G, the first note, third note, fifth note would be the ribs of that scale. If it's an F scale, the F, A, C would be the first note, third note, fifth note of the F chord, and that would be the ribs of the skeleton of that scale, the most important, most harmonious, smoothest sounding ones. And if you nail those, you can't go wrong when you're soloing if the band is playing an F, so an F chord. So that's something important to know. That arpeggios, you might have learned as a classical player, arpeggios are the notes broken up one at a time. Not a broken chord like broken on the floor. They're just broken up to be one note at a time because our instruments kind of stink at playing chords. But we can beautifully go around all the notes and there's a D arpeggio stuff. Now to do only that will sound boring. To use the notes that are not in the chord and morph to the notes that are in the chord is tension release, like I mentioned, and that's important. We'll get more into this in other videos.